Okay, so here we're looking at question number 11 on page 562, and they gave you my triangle here. They labeled the sides 6, 8, and 10, and they want me to find the three trig functions of the two acute angles of angle A and of angle B. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to find the three trig functions. I'm going to start with angle A. And if you noticed here, the first thing that I did was I labeled my triangle. The first thing I labeled was my hypotenuse, right? So from now on, the first thing we want to label is the hypotenuse. That's always the easiest side to see because it's always across from the 90-degree angle. So there's my hypotenuse. Since I'm focusing on angle A, this is going to be my opposite side there. So I just put a little O for opposite. And then this side here that's left over is going to be my adjacent side. So I put a little A there for adjacent. So now that I have my triangle labeled, doing the SOHCAHTOA, the three trig functions, is going to be pretty easy. So let's do the sine function of angle A. Well, the sine function tells me that it is what? It is the opposite over the hypotenuse. So my opposite is 8, my hypotenuse is 10, so it's going to be 8 over 10. So the sine function is going to be 8 over 10, excuse me, the sine function of A, make sure you put the angle, is going to be 8 over 10 or 0.8. We can do the cosine function now, which is going to be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So here's my adjacent, there's my hypotenuse. So it's going to be 6 over 10, which is 0.6. And now we can do the tangent function, which is the opposite over the adjacent. Here's my opposite O, here's my adjacent A. So it's 8 over 6, or 1.33, repeating. Now that I'm done with angle A, now I can move my focus to angle B. And that's going to affect how I label my triangle. So if you notice here, here is the exact same triangle, right? All the sides are the same, 8, 10, and 6, 8, 10, and 6. But now you notice it's labeled a little bit differently because now I'm focusing on angle B, right? Well, this is still my hypotenuse, but if I'm doing the three trig functions of angle B, this is the opposite side, and then now this is the adjacent side. So let's do the three trig functions. Let's do the sine, cosine, and tangent of angle B. So the sine function, again, is the opposite over the hypotenuse. Opposite O here is 6, hypotenuse is 10, so it's 6 over 10, or 0.6. The cosine function is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which is going to be 8, adjacent over hypotenuse is going to be 8 over 10, or 0.8. And then finally, the tangent function is going to be the opposite over the adjacent, which is going to be opposite over adjacent, 6 over 8. So the tangent of angle B is going to be 6 over 8, or 0.75. And notice that these are the three trig functions of angle B. Okay? Now let's move on to question number 13. For question number 13, for the sine of D, you should have got 0.28. For the cosine, here's my triangle, by the way. For the sine of D, you should have got 0.28. For the cosine of D, you should have got 0.96. And for the tangent of D, you should have got 0.2917. And by the way, you always want to go to 4 decimal places if you can. These are terminal decimals. They only go to 2 places because that's what we get. But if usually if you have more, you only go to 4. Next, we have the sine of F. So now F would have been my focus. Notice I didn't label it here because I hope that you would have labeled it on your paper. But the sine of F is 0.96. The cosine of F is 0.28. And the tangent of F is 3.4286. If you got these wrong, then I would suggest you go back and watch the beginning of this video or the beginning of the trig function videos and try them again because you might be labeling your triangles incorrectly. Now, for questions 16 through 26 even, they were asking you to use a calculator, to find out the numerical values of these trig functions here. And simply put, all you have to do here is then, well, I'm going to use my calculator. And question number 16 Question number 16 is asking for the sine of 48 degrees. So I put in 48 degrees, and now I hit my sine button, and I get a decimal, 0.7431. So notice I have more decimals here, but I only want to go to 4 decimal places. This is a 4, so this stays a 1 here. Next, they're asking for the cosine of 70 degrees. So I type in 70, I hit cosine, and I get 0.3420 and some more decimals. I only go to 4 places. This is a 2, so this stays a 0 here. That's what I get there. And for number 24, they're asking for the tangent of 23 degrees. So here's 23 degrees. Now I hit the tangent button, and I get 0.42447. My 4th place here is a 4. This number is a 7, so this becomes a 5. So there I go to 4 decimal places. And basically for numbers 16 to 26, that's all they were asking you to do. They were asking you to use your calculator. For number 18, they're asking for the tangent of 81 degrees. Well, here's 81. I hit the tangent button, and I get 6.313 and some more decimals here. Remember that I want to go to 4 decimal places, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a 7. The next number is a 5. So that makes this 7 become an 8. So this should really be 0.631. That should be an 8 there. Okay. Next, they're asking for the sine of 78 degrees. So 78, I hit the sine, and you get the idea. You get the idea. So I get 9.9781. That's a 4, so this stays a 1. And so it's 0.9781. And finally, 56, the sine of that is 0.8290. The next number after the 0 is a 3, so that stays a 0. And they were just asking you to use your calculator to find the trigonometric equivalence of these angles here. Now, why did we do this? Well, I wanted to show you that. Notice here that when I ask for the sine of a certain degree, I get a decimal here. And when we were dealing with the triangles before, we also got decimals there. That's because there is a relationship between the sides of a triangle and their angles. And by using these numbers in the calculator,